Hi everyone, I am here with a Bible study. I hope you guys are having a good night. We haven't done one of these in a while, have we? Sure haven't. Alright. You twerking, sure?
No.
Yeah, you are. I've seen you.
I wasn't twerking.
You were twerking.
Was not. Stretching the oldies.
Sweating to the oldies.
Stretching.
Twerking.
Stretching.
Twerking.
Stretching.
Tonight we are going to be, let's see, the devotion tonight is by Jeannie Blackmer, and let's see, her devotion will be in the book, let's see, the book of the Bible she chose to do her devotion in tonight will be the book of Matthew 16. And she picked the verse, Matthew 16, to go with her devotion tonight. Matthew 16, verse 9, which says, "Do you not remember the 5 loaves for the 5,000, and how many baskets you gathered?" What Jesus asked them. And you remember what that was about? If not, you will, because, let's see, I'm getting ready to go read to you Matthew chapter 16 out of the Bible right now. And I'm going to go, I'll be reading in the New International Version. And if you have a New King James or a King James Version or whatever, you can still follow along in that. It'll just be worded slightly different, like if it says "the" or "they" or whatever, and mine says "the," it'll just be like that, just like, you know, just slightly different, and you know, in words like that. It'll just sound slightly different, but saying and meaning the same thing. Okay, it's chapter 16 is short. If you guys need more time to get ready, just pause the video. That's all you gotta do. And click it again when you're ready. We'll be reading about the demand for a sign, the yeast of the Pharisees. Now, the disciples, Jesus' disciples, which he had 12, the original disciples were 12, also called apostles. They didn't understand what Jesus meant a lot of times. And when Jesus was talking to them about the yeast of the Pharisees, he thought he literally meant a yeast, like in what you make bread dough out of, yeast. But Jesus wasn't talking about that kind of yeast. He wasn't talking about that. He was talking about them being hypocrites. He was telling them to beware of the hypocrites. And let's see, Peter's confession of Christ, and Jesus predicts his death, and that's where chapter 16 ends. So let's begin. The Pharisees and Sadducees came to Jesus and tested him by asking him to show them a sign from heaven. Always wanting a sign. He replied, "When evening comes, you say, 'It will be fair weather, for the sky is red,' and in the morning, 'Today it will be stormy, for the sky is red and overcast.' You know how to interpret the appearance of the sky, but you cannot interpret the signs of the times. A wicked and adulterous generation looks for a miraculous sign, but none will be given it except the sign of Jonah. Jesus then left them and went away. Do you know what that meant? Do you know what that meant? Think about that for a minute. Just think about that. The sign of Jonah. Oh, my eyes are watering. Think about that. The sign of Jonah. Okay. The sign of Jonah. What did Jesus mean by that? Now I'll tell you what Jesus meant by that. Nothing will be given it except the sign of Jonah. That was back in that time. And it was given it. As Jonah did not listen to God. And Jonah was swallowed up in the belly of the whale. And then God forgave Jonah. Jonah was in the belly of the whale for 3 days. And then God released Jonah from the belly of the whale and freed him. Okay, and then Jonah done God's will, whatever, you know. We won't go into that story. But Jesus will be handed over. Jesus will be crucified. Jesus will be crucified and killed. He will be put in the tomb. And in 3 days, just like Jonah, he will be resurrected. 3 days. That's like the sign of Jonah. That'll be the sign of Jonah. That's what Jesus meant by nothing will be given it except the sign of Jonah. Jesus then left them and went away. That's what he meant by that. When they went across the lake, the disciples forgot to take bread. Be careful, Jesus said to them. Be on your guard against the yeast of the Pharisees and Sadducees. They discussed this among themselves and said, it's because we didn't bring any bread. They discussed this among themselves and said, because we didn't bring any bread. Aware of their discussion, Jesus asked, you of little faith, why are you talking among yourselves about having no bread? Do you still not understand? Don't you remember the 5 loaves for the 5,000? And how many basketfuls you gathered? Or the 7 loaves for the 4,000? Or how many basketfuls you gathered? How is it you don't understand that I was not talking to you about bread? But be on your guard against the yeast of the Pharisees and Sadducees. Then they understood that he was not telling them to guard against, that he was not telling them to guard against the yeast used in bread, but against the teaching of the Pharisees and the Sadducees. Yes, their hypocrisy. When Jesus came to the region of Caesarea Philippi, he asked his disciples, who do people say the Son of Man is? They replied, some say John the Baptist, which I never understood. It was so stupid. Because John the Baptist was there when Jesus was there. They spoke. John the Baptist baptized Jesus. That's the dumbest thing ever. So dumb. Why would they say that? I have no idea. Some others say Elijah, and still others Jeremiah or one of the prophets. But what about you, he asked. Who do you say I am? Simon Peter answered, You are the Christ, the Son of the living God. Jesus replied, Blessed are you, Simon, son of Jonah, for this was not revealed to you by man, but by my Father in heaven. And I tell you that you are Peter, and on this rock I will build my church. And on this rock I will build my church, and on the gates of Hades will not overcome it. I will give you the keys of the kingdom of heaven. Whatever you bind on earth will be bound in heaven. Whatever you bind on earth will be bound in heaven, and whatever you loose on earth will be loosed on earth. Then be warned. Whatever you bind on earth will be bound in heaven, and whatever you loose on earth will be loosed in heaven. Then he warned his disciples not to tell anyone that he is the Christ. From that time on, Jesus began to explain to his disciples that he must go to Jerusalem and suffer many things at the hands of the elders, chief priests, and teachers of the law, and that he must be killed, and on the third day be raised to life. Peter took him aside and began to rebuke him. Never, Lord, he said, this shall never happen to you. Jesus turned and said to Peter, Get behind me, Satan. You are a stumbling block to me. You do not have in mind the things of God, but the things of men. Then Jesus said to his disciples, If anyone would come after me, he must deny himself and take up his cross and follow me. For whoever wants to save his life will lose it, but whoever loses his life for me will find it. What good will it be for a man if he gains the whole world, yet forfeits his soul? Or what can a man give in exchange for his soul? For the Son of Man is going to come in his Father's glory with his angels, and in his Father's glory with his angels, and then he will reward each person according to what he has done. I tell you the truth, some who are standing here will not taste death before they see the Son of Man coming in his glory. And that is all of chapter 16. Sorry, I had trouble seeing little words. I apologize. My eyes get watery. Jesus got loud with Peter there, you may say, because Jesus told Peter, Get behind me, Satan. That was Jesus telling Peter, no, don't say that. I have to do these things. I have to go. Don't tell me not to go. I have to. I'm going about my Father's business. This is what we have to do. We are here to do God's work. This is the work we do. These are the things we do. You know, it's a stumbling block. Satan puts those stumbling blocks in your path, but you don't let him win. You save your soul in the end. You're saving your soul. It don't matter. You know, yeah, your body may get hurt on this earth eventually, when it's time for your body to get hurt, when it's time for your body to get killed on this earth. Look how many times the disciples were flogged, imprisoned, beaten. Look how many times that happened to almost all of them. Several times. To almost every single one of them. Almost every single one of them were killed eventually. Almost all of them were killed in their old age. That's how most of them ended up. Almost all of them were killed in their old age. Yep. And some they were younger. Some were stoned to death. Some died even worse. But yeah, Peter, he was crucified upside down. He asked to be crucified upside down because he didn't want to be crucified the same way as Jesus, because he didn't think it was right. But yeah. But anyway, that's your body. Your body's only temporary. The world, man can only hurt your body, is what Jesus is saying. Man can only hurt your body. Your body's only temporary. It's scary at the moment. It's scary. And yes, it'll hurt, but only for a few minutes. Your soul is eternal. Your soul is eternal. Your soul is eternal. That lasts forever. 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 Eternal means forever. That's where you'll be for eternity. In heaven or hell. That's what matters most. That's what matters most. And man cannot do anything about that. Only you can. Only you can decide where you go for eternity. That's up to you. Heaven or hell. And that's by accepting Jesus or not accepting Jesus, and how you live. Live for God or not for God. Okay. Let's see what Jeannie says in her devotion. Let's see here. She says, my friend Wendy and I met at a trailhead near my home for a quick hike. When she got out of her car, she said, can I put my keys in your car so I don't have to carry them? Sure, I replied. That's a good idea. I'll put mine in my car. Hope I don't lock them in there. We locked our cars and went on our hike. When we got back to our cars, I had a sinking feeling as I realized what we had done. I hope it ain't what I thought you did. Neither of us could open our car doors because our keys were safely locked inside each other's vehicles. I knew it. I'm always afraid of that. If Jesus ever rolled his eyes at his followers, I'd imagine he would have rolled his eyes at our ridiculous situation, just as I imagine he might have had to refrain himself from chuckling at his disciples sometimes. I'm sure they laughed at each other a lot. You know how guys are with each other, just like girls are with each other. Such as the time when they crossed the lake just after witnessing Jesus miraculously feed thousands of people bread and fish twice. When they arrived on the other side, Jesus warned them not to follow the teaching of the Sadducees and Pharisees, using the leaven in bread as an example. Once he mentioned bread, all they could think about was how they forgot to bring any, and fret over this mistake. Matthew 16, verses 5 through 12. It seems ridiculous that they would forget that Jesus can do, especially after seeing him perform those miracles and gathering baskets full of leftovers. We are similar to the disciples and forget what Jesus has done, just as easily as we can forgetfully lock our keys in our cars. The Bible frequently reminds us to remember his miracles to boost our faith. Thankfully, we serve a God who has a sense of humor. Amen. Yes, we do. I know we do. Amen. God's always playing jokes on me. He does. I tell you. I think I'm crazy, but I know he does. I'll be looking for something, and I'll be looking like right here on this stand. I'll search this stand right here beside me, and it won't be there. Like this stand will be empty. And I'll look other places, okay, can't find it, be searching everywhere, and then I'll come back and it'll be laying right there on that stand. You have to look up and be like, I know that was you, Father. And you know he's like looking right at you, laughing. You know it was him. He plays jokes on you. Where do you think your sense of humor comes from? You know he's got a sense of humor. He has to. You know he does. Alright. And let's see, your homework for tonight. Write down a miracle you remember Jesus did in your life. Next time you have a forgetful moment, read your note. Next time you forget what Jesus has done in your life, read your note to remind yourself of that one moment. I'm sure you have others besides that one moment, but remind yourself of at least that one. Alright, so there's one thing we got today. You might want to check every now and then, babe. I thought you were in the bedroom.
I'm right here.
Alright, twerker.
Nut.
This little devotion,
Hurry up.
check the time,
Now.
is called Mama's Rules.
Grandma.
Grandpa, what is it? What is it?
24.
No, it ain't.
Yeah, it is.
But quit talking so much.
It's 24.
No.
I'm not lying. It's 24, 12, 13, 14, 15.
Should I do Mama's Rules or should I do
That one.
the animal?
The doggy.
It ain't a dog.
Oh, you better hurry up. Or get the short one.
They're both the same.
Well, then hurry up.
Alright.
Uh-oh. 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51.
I'll see if I can do the animal. Everybody pick an animal real quick.
Pig.
Okay, everybody pick an animal. Okay.
25.
Okay, this is by Twyla Bennett. The Bible verse is Luke 8:17. For there is nothing hidden that will not be disclosed, and nothing concealed that will not be known or brought into the open. The secret life of a woodland mouse. Mouse. My husband Dan and I were sleeping in our Jeep's rooftop tent when I awoke with a start to an odd sound. It frightened me for a minute, then it stopped. The next morning I was ready for coffee. Opening the tailgate for my cook stove, I noticed a rip in the trash bag stored inside. We had broken a glass bottle. The shards had shattered the plastic. Annoyed, I picked up the mess, then began preparing breakfast. Soon, I was enjoying a hot beverage and food. Soaking in the peaceful morning, Dan was facing the open tailgate and calmly remarked, I just saw a mouse run inside the Jeep. My freshly caffeinated brain connected the noise and the ripped bag. I was not so calm. Back and forth, the mouse teased us, running behind the cooler, then out again. The show-off even jumped onto the tailgate hinge, swinging up like a circus performer. Later that evening, we finally believed the mouse was gone. We hadn't seen it for hours, but I arranged my stove so I could keep an eagle eye out anyway. After a few minutes of cooking, I glanced up. Peeking over the bumper was a tiny head with its nose sniffing the air. Scripture reminds me that I can hide nothing from God and that everything will be exposed. Yet, like the mouse, I sometimes still try to hide at times. I have truly believed that God cannot know what I have done. The greatest gift that He can give me, though, is exposure. The freedom from guilt and shame sets me on the path toward healing. Dear Lord, cleanse my heart of my sin. I don't want to hide anything from you. I've been holding something close for too long, and I need your forgiveness. Twyla Bennett. Alright guys, I hope you guys have a great rest of your night. Let's bring those souls to Jesus, and God willing, we'll see you guys again tomorrow with another Bible study. Bye guys. God bless.